They said exile was a fate worse than death.
We're wrong.
Death doesn't come with a princess. Right now I'm sitting in the observation deck of the most remote outpost in charted space. Watching her try to rewire the communications panel for the third time today, she thinks I don't notice. I do. She's getting better at it too, which honestly should concern me more than it does. Her name is Princess Lyara of the Valian Empire, and 6 weeks ago, I kidnapped her. Not for ransom, not for revenge, but because I refused to die alone in the dark. Apparently my solution to crippling loneliness was to commit an interstellar felony. She's tried to kill me 3 times, escaped 7. And yet here we are, sharing ration packs and arguing about who gets the last coffee pod. The Empire wants me dead. Her family wants her back. And somehow, neither of us is in a hurry to change our situation. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how a decorated fleet commander became the most wanted man in 5-star systems, and how a princess became my only companion at the edge of everything. My name is Commander Jox Corin. It's commander, I suppose. Past tense. 6 months ago, I stood at the height of my career, elite fleet captain, 23 successful campaigns. Medals I stopped counting. The kind of officer they put on recruitment posters. The kind of soldier who followed orders without question, till the day I didn't. It happened during the siege of Kronos Station. We had the Valian fleet on the run, scattered and desperate. Command gave the order, pursue and destroy. Maximum casualties, send a message. But there was a problem. A civilian transport vessel, damaged and drifting directly in our firing solution. Scanners showed 300 life signs aboard. Refugees, families, non-combatants, trying to escape the war zone. I requested clarification. Command repeated the order. Fire anyway. Acceptable collateral damage. At 30 seconds to decide. 30 seconds to choose between my oath to obey and my oath to protect. I chose the transport. Diverted my ship, took fire from enemy positions, and evacuated every single person on that vessel. All 300 survived. My crew survived, even captured 2 enemy cruisers in the process. I thought I'd be commended. Instead, I was court-martialed. The tribunal took less than 4 hours. Sat behind their polished desk in their pristine uniforms. Men and women who never had to make a choice with 300 lives hanging in the balance. Commander Corin, you willfully disobeyed a direct order during combat operations. You prioritized enemy civilians over strategic military objectives. You endangered your crew and compromised the mission. I didn't argue. What was the point? I'd do it again. Every time, they stripped my rank, my commendations, my career. Then came the sentence. Not prison, not execution, exile. They were sending me to Outpost Terminus, an abandoned mining station at the absolute edge of charted space. No patrol routes nearby. No supply runs. No relief missions. Just me, a failing life support system, and 48 hours worth of supplies. The judge, Admiral Reeves, delivered the final verdict with cold satisfaction. You valued enemy lives over strategic victory, Commander? Perhaps solitude will teach you the price of misplaced compassion? 50 years or natural death, whichever comes first. May the void have mercy on you, because we will not. I had 48 hours before the transport ship would take me away forever. No family to say goodbye to. My crew wasn't allowed contact. Just me and the ticking clock, packing the few personal items I was permitted to bring to my eternal prison. I kept thinking about those 300 people, wondering if any of them knew, wondering if saving them was worth this. The answer was yes. It didn't make the fear any easier to swallow. The transport dropped me at Outpost Terminus on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were always briefing days, and the irony of starting my forever prison on a day that used to mean routine felt appropriate. The station was worse than I'd imagined. Rusted hull plating, flickering lights. The kind of place that groaned and shuddered with every solar wind that passed. It had been a mining operation once, decades ago, before the veins ran dry and corporate interests moved on. Now it was just a tomb waiting for an occupant. The first week was survival mode. Inventoried the supplies. Test the life support. Ration everything. The oxygen recyclers were barely functional. Water reclamation system had a 20% failure rate. Power fluctuated constantly. I gave myself 6 months, maybe 8 if I was lucky and careful. The second week, the reality set in. The silence. Not just quiet, but absolute crushing silence. No voices. No footsteps. No hum of a ship full of crew going about their duties. Just me and the station's mechanical groans. I started talking to myself, then answering, then arguing. By week 3, I knew I was losing it. Month 2 brought the breaking point. I woke up screaming from a nightmare and realized I couldn't remember what my sister's voice sounded like. Couldn't picture my mother's face clearly. The isolation wasn't just killing my body, it was erasing me piece by piece. I spent an entire day staring at the airlock, doing the math. Quick, painless, final. But I'm too stubborn for that. They wanted me to disappear quietly, to become a footnote in military history, cautionary tale about the price of disobedience. I refused to give them that satisfaction. That's when I found the communications array. Most of the station was dead, but the old mining operation had needed long-range communications to coordinate with corporate headquarters. The hardware was ancient, half-fried, but my specialty before Fleet Command was electronic warfare and signals intelligence. I spent 2 weeks cannibalizing parts, rerouting power, and bypassing burnt-out circuits. When I finally got it online, the array couldn't transmit far, but it could listen. And listen I did. I intercepted everything. Fleet communications, civilian channels, even encrypted Valian military traffic, which I'd been breaking for years during the war. I told myself I was just staying informed, maintaining my skills, passing the time. But really I was looking for something. Anything. A reason to keep going. Then 3 months into my exile I caught it. A Valian priority transmission. Diplomatic channel. Princess Lyara, third heir to the Valian throne, was traveling to a peace summit on the neutral station Helios Point. The transmission included her route, security details, and schedule. I read it 3 times before the idea fully formed. It was insane, suicidal, impossible. I was going to kidnap her, not for politics, not for leverage, but because I'd done the math, and I had maybe 3 months left before the loneliness or the failing systems killed me. If I was going to die out here, forgotten and alone, then I'd make damn sure the people who sent me here remembered my name. And if that meant stealing a princess, so be it. At least I wouldn't be talking to myself anymore. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing. The station's old industrial tractor beam still had power. Designed to pull asteroid chunks into processing bays, it could easily disable a small ship's engines. I tested it on passing debris, calibrated the targeting system, and prayed it would hold together for one more job. The fake distress beacon was easier. Standard emergency protocol, ship in distress, life signs critical, requesting immediate assistance. I programmed it to activate along Princess Lyra's route, timed perfectly to when she'd be passing through this sector. Then came the hard part, waiting, second-guessing, realizing what I was about to do. This wasn't a split-second battlefield decision. This was premeditated kidnapping of a member of a royal family, an act that would trigger an interstellar incident. Possibly restart the war we'd just finished fighting. I could still back out, let the beacon stay dark, die quietly like they wanted. But every time I considered it, I'd look around the empty station and feel the walls closing in. 3 more months of this? Alone with my thoughts and my regrets? No. I'd rather be a villain they remembered than a forgotten martyr. The beacon went live on schedule. Now all I had to do was wait and hope that the princess was as compassionate as intelligence reports suggested. Hope that she'd be foolish enough to answer a distress call in contested space. Hope that I could actually pull this off. The proximity alarm shrieked 2 days later. I watched the sensors with my heart hammering against my ribs as a Valian cruiser dropped out of hyperspace. Luxury class. Royal insignia blazoned across the hall. She came. She actually came. I powered up the tractor beam, my hand shaking on controls I'd tested 100 times. This was it. The point of no return. The ship approached slowly, cautiously. I could see their scanning beams sweeping the station. They were detecting one life sign. Mine, a failing station. A man in distress. Everything about the situation screamed trap, but she kept coming. Later she'd tell me why. That her guards advised against it. The protocol said to report it and move on. But she'd looked at those scans, seen one dying man and couldn't leave him. That compassion, that fundamental inability to abandon someone in need, It's what saved my life. It's what doomed her to sharing my exile. I waited until they were in range, sent one final emergency pulse, watched their ship extend docking clamps toward the station's emergency port. Then I fired the tractor beam. The electromagnetic pulse rippled across their hull, and every light on that beautiful ship went dark. In that moment, with alarms blaring and my target disabled and drifting, I became something I'd never been before. Not a soldier, not a commander, but a criminal. A kidnapper. It's a man so desperate for human connection that he'd stolen a princess from the stars. I sealed my combat suit, grabbed the equipment I'd prepared, and headed for the airlock. My hands had stopped shaking. My heartbeat had steadied. For the first time in 3 months, I felt alive. They wanted me exiled, forgotten, alone. I was about to make sure that none of those things would ever be true again.